Uh, Come on in if you could find a spot. I decided I would drain the tank down as far as I could, being 375 gallons. With a 120-gallon sump, this was going to be incredibly difficult to move without draining most of the water. However, I didn't want to rip the tank apart, move the fish, so I decided let me drain enough water so that the fish can still swim in the aquarium, but I can easily move it with some help. And that's kind of what I did. I got my friend Gary to come over, and we slowly inched the 375 gallons 8 feet in that direction. Doing this is extremely dangerous. You could break your tank, your stand could collapse, you could catch something on the floor, you could tip it over. There's so many variables that could go wrong, so I highly suggest you do not move aquariums like this. However, you guys know me, I've done this thing several times, many times over, and if you're going to move a large aquarium, it's always best to inch it side by side at a time, making sure that the ground is flat and there's no twisting occurring in the stand. And of course, being acrylic also helps. There's if any twisting of any sort occurs, a lot of the times the acrylic can withstand it as opposed to glass, which can fracture and stress under those conditions. This wasn't easy. It took us about an hour to move it over, but I got it in place, filled the tank back up late last night, and got everything sort of running clearly. It's a mess in here, and I have so much more left to do. Basically, I was able to get the filtration back up and running, as well as one light installed, some pumps going. Essentially, the life support system is now up and going. Now, I'll spend the rest of the day cleaning up, getting all the equipment back up and running, and of course, fixing the scape because a few of the things tipped over. I probably should have started the video out with this, but why did I move my 375-gallon rainbow fish tank in the first place? The answer is quite simple. My office used to be on the other side of that. I realized I don't really use my office. I can edit videos from wherever, and ultimately that's all I was doing there. When I was in there, I felt claustrophobic, and I couldn't really see anything. Ideally, it would have been a nice little area if I had only had this 375, but there's so many more tanks that I want to look at and be inspired by on a daily basis, just as much as you guys would. However, when I got back from that trip in London, England, which was absolutely amazing, by the way, I came in here and it just didn't feel welcoming anymore. I didn't feel comfortable in here. And I just, like I said, it just felt kind of claustrophobic. I was tripping over things. I was always kind of trying to get around things. I just really wanted to open it up more. So moved the tank over to the side, put a little desk here, which I've got to clean up and make it more practical. And even then, I don't need a desk in here, but sometimes we do things on tables and whatnot, and it's nice to have somewhere to sit, edit, and observe the aquariums. So that's exactly what I did. It also helps that when I'm thinking about setting up these last 4 aquariums, and the 375 was right here, I was thinking, how am I going to get these out to set them up? Because I got to pull them out, plumb them. I'm actually going to pull some of the tanks out to scape them. But how am I going to do that with the 375 there? And ultimately, all roads led to move the 375 against the wall. In the long run, it actually looks pretty good. Now, of course, bear with me because the light is not really hooked up. It's not centered where I want it. It's kind of just dangling there. This is the Ecotech G4. Absolutely amazing light, by the way. The freshwater version, never had the salt. This tank is going to look absolutely incredible. I made sure I kept it out from the wall by about 5 or 6 inches. I did that for 2 reasons. One, it adds an illusion of depth with the blanked out wall there. Once this is all lit up, it's going to look like the aquarium keeps going. 2, it made sure that I didn't have to keep moving the tank an additional 5 or 6 inches. But really, the 375-gallon aquarium being here, there's not a whole lot that's going to change. I will slightly change the scape to be more of a favorable side this way, but it's interesting to me because we've already scaped the back of it as well, meaning that it's covered in moss on the other side, so it's going to give it a much fuller look. The only real difference in equipment, though, is I moved the wave makers, those Ecotech MP20s, I believe those are, to this side of the aquarium, so we have flow coming in both directions. You'll notice a couple of things. The substrate is cleared up considerably, as well as there's no algae issues in this tank whatsoever. The one thing that some people have noticed that have a good eye is the moss on the wood doesn't look as healthy as it once did. And one of the things about moss is it's actually a great particle filter. So when the aquarium's blowing up all of that debris that we had in the tank from removing that aqua soil in the past, a lot of that soil got absorbed or caught up in the moss, which is fine because it actually loves it. It's a great nutrient resource for them, but it doesn't look very happy right now. It's still growing, it's still healthy, it's still doing fine, but within a few weeks, I've actually decided to just leave it on there and let it use it as, some nutrients. But within a few weeks, it'll look back to, that really lush green look. I might trim it up a little bit. I'm actually even considering increasing the intensity of lighting, seeing if I can get it to react differently, but we'll see what happens. A lot of the rainbows are doing really well. They're growing. The ray right here, doing really well. This wasn't really meant to be an update, quite frankly. I'm swamped with work right now and trying to stay ahead of a lot of things, so I didn't really have much else to do, so I thought I'm just gonna show them what I'm doing right now. With it being a little bit more organized out here, that means some things have to change, and one of those is the saltwater aquarium. We haven't done an update on this, but there is really nothing to update. The fish are eating, the coral are growing, the tank is doing relatively well, but that's it. It's not staying there. I'm removing it from here. My daughter's actually getting a saltwater aquarium, and I think a lot of the things in there will probably go in it. I don't know when that video will come out or when we'll set that up or when that will happen. I'm tremendously busy lately, especially with travel and doing all this and, family and whatnot. So what will happen is this entire system will be shut down. And of course, we have 120s that will be going to salt water eventually. Got to admit, now that the wave makers and pumps are kind of in different directions, the rainbows are certainly, swimming a lot differently in that tank now, more occupying the rest of it, as you can see. Interesting stuff, but like I said, I got a busy day ahead of me, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'd also like to thank you for watching. If you join me in a couple days, I'll probably bring you back up to speed with what I've got going on here. The workshop, some people have said I haven't been out there a lot lately, and I'm probably working on something, and the truth there is, I am.